Welcome to another exciting episode of the Technocrats. In today's episode, we will discuss the transformative impact of AI on supply chain management. The supply chain industry currently grapples with an average inventory accuracy rate of 63%, indicating that 37% of the time, retailers face challenges with inaccurate inventory data. With high interest rate, this inaccuracy is costlier than ever before. This inaccuracy also leads to problems such as overstocks, stockouts, and missed sales opportunities, with significant consequences for businesses. To shed light on this topic, we are joined by an esteemed guest, Matthew Butler. With over 25 years of experience in the supply chain domain, Matthew brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to our discussion. He possesses a deep understanding of the intricacies of the industry. Currently serving as the leader of SCT Advisory, Matthew assists organizations in strategic planning and gaining a competitive edge in the market. Together, we will explore how AI is transforming supply chain management and how organizations can leverage these technologies to enhance inventory accuracy, streamline operations, and unlock new growth opportunities. Without any further ado, let us extend a warm welcome to Matthew as he joins us on the Technocrats. So Matthew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. So as the supply chain industry continues to evolve, one big trend shaping its future is the adoption of AI and ML technologies. According to Forbes, global spending on supply chain platforms is attaining 40% of CAGR in the 7 years. That shows how much people recognize the game-changing potential of these technologies in the industry. So as a thought leader in the supply chain industry, how do you see AI and ML technologies shaping the future of supply chain strategy? Are there any notable use cases for AI, ML in the supply chain that go beyond the traditional scope of manufacturers and retailers? Would love to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so absolutely, it's going to reshape the way that supply chains are managed, as well as how they're leveraged by organizations across industries. It's going to be a slow but a critical evolution that's going to transform the way that businesses operate and the way that they compete. So initially, in the early days, the initiatives are going to be fairly tactical, and their impacts are going to be very targeted as these companies get their feet wet and focus on what they know, which is supply chain data. So I suspect the early use cases are going to focus on operations, productivity, purchasing factors, as well as inventory positioning. But as they get more comfortable with AI and ML, they're going to expand their purview to a much more comprehensive digital ecosystem and get far more advanced in the way that they're leveraging externalities to understand how their supply chains are going to be impacted and how they are going to respond to those impacts. So these companies are going to look to ingest upstream and downstream data indicators, look for IoT signals that allow them to gain insights into the factors that influence things like demand volatility, product quality, and customer satisfaction. And as they do so, they're going to increasingly understand the impact that supply chain has up and down their business processes and start to see the supply chain for the critical asset that it truly is.
That's a lot to actually be able to do with the AI and ML. And I think you covered a few points which were very interesting, is like externalities and the data. And I hope the organizations are evaluating their data management policies and looking into the data as an asset, because that's the biggest asset and the raw material for the AI and ML technologies. A study conducted by McKinsey also found that successfully implementing AI-enabled supply chain management has enabled early adopters to reduce logistic costs by 15%, reduce inventory levels by 35%, and my most favorite is increase service levels by 65%, compared to slower moving competitors. This highlights the substantial benefits which you also alluded to from the adoption of AI ML technologies that can bring to the supply chain performance. And you covered a few use cases which actually are related to that. Can you share an example from your experience where AI ML
driven insights have significantly improved supply chain performance? And what were the key benefits derived from this transformation?
Right. Yeah. So 100%, the biggest challenge in supply chain management is a lack of visibility, right? And not understanding where goods in transit are or the availability of components and raw materials. So the first use case that I like to focus on that really shows some of the value is affects the inventory positioning and availability to customers to fulfill their customer demands, right? And what we found is that goods in motion can have AI and ML applied to the shipping routes and over-the-road traffic patterns with real-time inputs to deliver a better predicted time of arrival. And this is all using AI and ML to understand what is standard, what the potential disruptions are, what the likely impacts of those disruptions are, and then determine what the predicted time of arrival for those goods are. So an easy one is, a truck moving from Omaha into New York City, and then all of a sudden the bridge in Philadelphia goes out, right? Well, your predicted time of arrival is going to go back a few hours. Those few pallets that you had slated to be cross-docked over to Walmart are now no longer going to be available. But what you've gained by recognizing that disruption is that inventory is not going to be available, and you can either look to substitute an alternative item to fulfill that order, or you can look to backfill other items onto that trailer to maintain your asset utilization or manage your transportation costs more effectively. So predicted time of arrival and the awareness of the real-time transportation visibility networks like Project 44 and 4Kites are delivering a ton of value that is allowing companies like Conagra, like Kellogg's, like Kraft, that service Walmart at very high volumes to better anticipate these disruptions and eliminate the number of chargebacks that they're receiving for failure to meet their customer service expectations. Another great one is around food waste. This is actually a longtime member of Blue Yonder, and the rebranding of that name really represented their focus on AI and ML. Because they had acquired a company that had initially been named Blue Yonder, and their claim to fame was that they'd worked with a grocer in the EU called Morrison's on better understanding food waste patterns and the influence on fresh meats and how to turn inventory more aggressively using pricing and promotion strategies. And I think a level of value that was unleashed as these models were applied to the markets near to $100 million year one, tremendous impacts. And if you think about that from a network perspective, from an ecosystem perspective, the potential impact on food waste that you can achieve by better managing things using this type of intelligence is substantial. It's also impacting the transportation landscape. One of the companies that I worked for a while is called Transfix. And they're very representative of the impact that AI, ML, and hyper collaboration has had on the digital brokerage ecosystem. So Transfix was one of the early adopters, AI and ML, in the freight landscape, looking at full truckload availability and the carrier broker relationships. And what they did was they leveraged a number of external data sources, load boards and DAT historical information, and combined that historical and real-time data to better anticipate price volatility within the lanes. They then use that hyperconnectivity to connect to more of those load boards, look for available loads where they felt that they had an advantage, and then could take advantage of their capacity to offer lower costs and source more capacity for themselves. And they were in hyper growth mode from 2013 to today.
That's great. I think some of the things which you mentioned, I think I can see that $100 million savings and other savings from an inventory optimization hopefully is actually making the earth also a better place by reducing the carbon footprint as well. On a bigger scale, if every company start doing that, and also from a real-time tracking perspective, pointed out for ocean also. So it's not only the real-time tracking of a ship or a truck, or the mark or the road condition, but it is also the things which are not under control, union strike, or many other organization factors in that. From that comes to my next question, is the future trajectory of AI ML in the supply chain industry holds immense potential for transformation as well. We have come a long way, but there is a long way to go as well. From demand forecasting to inventory optimization to route optimization to predictive maintenance, these technologies will empower organizations to make data-driven decisions or enhance operation efficiency or exceptional customer experience. So, in your opinion, what do you envision as the future trajectory of AI ML in the supply chain industry? And what advice will you give to our listeners who are looking to leverage AI or ML in their supply chain operation?
Yeah. So, I'll start with a little bit of the advice first, which is, this is slowly but surely going to evolve into an existential threat, right? Because it's going to transform the competitive landscape one by one across industries. And it's going to benefit the companies that invest to the detriment of those that do not, because these companies are going to have insight about how to compete that will just be a black box to those that haven't invested. It's going to impact competitive differentiation. It's going to impact brand strategies, and it's going to impact pricing strategies. Quite frankly, it's going to disrupt these ecosystems. So we were just talking about the carryover ecosystem for anticipating demand and true to form, as you were mentioning, and I think the opportunity there is not only to leverage it from a pricing strategy perspective and to understand, the capacity that you have available and how it can be leveraged, but to then flip that to the other side and say, how can I position or secure capacity in such a way by anticipating where the demand is going to come from and actually have better positioned resources available, which will in turn eliminate the empty miles that trucks are driving to go pick up loads, which is also going to optimize truck utilization by anticipating consolidation opportunities. And all of these things will have a very direct impact to costs, to pricing, to speed, and to profitability. So, the carrier ecosystem, as the digital brokerages have emerged, I think we're really just getting started. And what we'll see is an ecosystem of very large, very successful, very intelligent organizations just having an unfair competitive advantage that allows them to source freight and assign loads far more effectively than their competition. So that's the transportation ecosystem, right? And we're all familiar with the disruption that e-commerce has had and the evolution of omni-channel organizations. When you think about general merchandise, do-it-yourself shops, specialty retail, all of these organizations need to position kind of an endless aisle catalog, right? So anything that one of your customers wants, you need to be able to source it because likely they're going to be looking for 2, 3, or 4 things, and they want it to be a one-stop shop, right? As they connect their demand forecasts and start to apply that to a network level fulfillment structure, they're going to not only understand what products are available and where, but what the best way to fulfill it profitably is going to be. And as they, hone their ability to source these orders from the right places with the right service levels, they're going to start looking again to flip the script on that and say, how do I take that information that is available to me about what would be profitable fulfillment and infuse that into my customer engagement, my digital commerce, and my pricing strategies. In an omni-channel world and in a unified commerce world, all of these elements are going to infuse social and pricing and inventory factors and drive to kind of an optimal solve at an enterprise level and potentially later at a network level as you think about collaboration across suppliers, manufacturers, dropship opportunities, et cetera. One of the more exciting industries that I think is going to be transformed by AI and IML is a very different type of impact, and that's in automotive and let's just say kind of consumer durables, washing machines, refrigerators, large appliances, things of that nature. And everybody's talking about, smart cars, smart machines. And these, the current approach is to allow them to anticipate things like predictive maintenance, or to alert users when something is wrong and be more intelligent about what is malfunctioning. But I think the future state of AI and ML is to look across the entire supply chain history of the sourcing, manufacturing, quality control, and distribution of those products and identify potential anomalies that are consistent across underperforming assets, whether those be components or finished goods, so that they can drive a higher level of quality for future models, as well as to identify potential safety risks in the case of automotive, right? By identifying, components that are at risk, that might fail, that might create a safety hazard, so that those products can be recalled. And again, you think about that from a brand management perspective, and the automotive providers that can talk about smart cars that automatically recognize when they are out of compliance from a quality assurance perspective. This is a massive, massive safety issue, and it's a potential differentiation in the market for the customers that have invested in it, or for the organizations that have invested in it.
I really like the way you have highlighted the key components over there. And I think if I may summarize a little bit, is that two things come up. One is how AI is actually being focused on one problem and it just solve one problem, instead of actually AI is taking the overall approach and looking at all the problems and not trying to optimize or find a solution of one problem, but actually trying to find a solution of a problem which is in combination as a global ecosystem itself is actually getting optimized. So it is going from problem to an organization level, and then from an organization, it's actually going to the ecosystem level, where partners and organizations are actually, their operations, their collaboration, their decisions are actually becoming more collective by the AI and managed by the AI. So I really love the way you have highlighted that.
Yeah, it's highly indicative of this, hyper collaborative ecosystem and the ability for customers to share data for the benefit of all, right? What's almost equally exciting is that's a very linear approach to how AI and ML can solve problems. But there's also, in parallel, been an emergence of multi-enterprise networks, which again are hyper collaboration kind of facilitators. But are more real time, thinking about what's available and how it's available and what can be leveraged. And while, digital brokerages are a great example of a multi-enterprise network, because they're working with brokers, they're working with shippers, they're working with carriers, and asset providers. But it can be much more than that when you think about the traditional ecosystem, from supply to manufacturing to consumption, right? Or to retail. And there is this idea of a multi-enterprise network that can start to extrapolate the data available from numerous suppliers, from numerous producers, from numerous consumers, and start to look at environmental solves that again extract the inefficiencies that are inherent in our more supply chain, linear supply chain thought processes and activities today. And I think when you consider that, this again goes back to this comprehensive ecosystem solve, which is going to have a benefit on fuel costs, on carbon impacts, and on speed and customer satisfaction from a consumer perspective. So AI and ML doesn't only need to exist in an enterprise or a trading partner landscape. It can also be applied to a multi-enterprise ecosystem to derive insights about how to drive out those inefficiencies on an ongoing basis, and even on how to solve independent challenges on a real-time basis for an optimal solution for every trading partner out there. I'd just like to close, reiterate that, AI and ML-driven change is coming. Most of the conversations in industry are around specific solutions versus some of this more holistic impact of the insights that are going to be seen on business strategy and the future competitive landscape. This is going to be a journey that you're on, and it's great to be pragmatic, as is, I think, the current viewed best practice. But I think it's also very, very important to be visionary, to think about how near-term use cases can help build a foundation for how you can develop some more strategic insights, how to align that strategy to your IT roadmap, and how to focus on your core capabilities and how you might offer differentiated customer service, or even best-in-class profitability, right? And to the point of, you don't have to do this alone. There's folks out here like Deepak and NextGen. There's folks like my organization, SCT, that can very much focus on AI/ML strategy, specific use cases, and SCT can help build that IT investment strategy that allows you to get the foundations in place and roadmaps so that AI and ML can deliver its optimal value to your organization and put you in the position that you are the disruptor as opposed to the disrupted.
We really appreciate, Matt, for sharing your thoughts and insights. Thank you very, very much.
And there you have it, folks. Throughout our discussion, it has become evident that the adoption of AI and ML technologies is opening new possibilities in the industry, from enhancing productivity to optimizing purchasing decisions, from strategic inventory placement to accurate demand forecasting. AI and ML are revolutionizing every facet of the supply chain landscape. However, the transformative impact does not stop there. With the expanding capabilities of AI and ML, supply chain organizations can tap into upstream indicators of demand and downstream insights into consumer behavior and product quality. While challenges persist, the future shines with immense possibilities, and the supply chain industry stands at the forefront of this technological revolution. We express our gratitude for joining us on this enlightening journey, and we encourage you to stay tuned for more captive discussion on the Technocrats.